I paid $4,200 to reserve an indoor trampoline park for my kid's birthday. When we walked in, the neon sign said Happy 9th, Ethan, my brother's kid. Dad snapped, "Stop staring. Nobody wanted to celebrate your little disappointment." My kid whispered, "I knew they'd do this." I took his hand, walked straight to the front desk, and changed one thing. By 11:37 p.m., Mom was screaming in the group chat. My name is Donovan Webb. I am 38 years old, and I plan corporate events and private parties for a living at Alderman Event Group in Indianapolis. I have worked in the venue industry for 7 years. I know every park manager, every catering coordinator, every booking system within 40 miles of downtown. I know what a reservation confirmation looks like. I know whose name sits at the top. And I know exactly what it means when someone else's name is on the sign at an event you paid for. This is Family Secret Tales. This one starts at a neon sign and ends at a group chat at 11:37 at night. The front desk manager at Jump Zone was a man named Owen Park. Owen and I had worked together on 4 corporate events in 2 years. He handled the venue side, I handled the client coordination, and in those 4 events, we had never had a scheduling problem, a billing dispute, or a miscommunication that ran more than 2 emails. He was good at his job, and he knew I was good at mine. When I walked up to his desk, he already had the look on his face that told me he had seen my father arrive an hour before I did and had been quietly waiting to see what happened next. I said, "Owen, pull up the Webb reservation." He pulled it up and turned the monitor toward me without being asked. The reservation was in the name of Donovan Webb, Alderman Event Group vendor account. Saturday, December 6th, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., deposit $4,200 paid October 15th. Everything correct except the event name field. Someone had typed Ethan's 9th birthday into the field and left it there. I said, "When did that change?" He said, "October 22nd. Someone logged into the vendor portal using your credentials and updated the event details. The login matched your account." I said, "My account." He said, "Yes." I took out my phone and opened the vendor portal app. I had the credentials memorized because I used the account 3 to 4 times a week for client work. I logged in. I went to the event name field and deleted Ethan's 9th birthday. I typed Caleb's 9th birthday. I went to the neon sign management panel, which Owens Park uses for the digital display system they had upgraded the previous year, a system I knew about because I had referred 2 other clients to it. I updated the display queue. I said, "How long to update the sign?" He said, 4 minutes. I said, "I also need the guest access list cleared and rebuilt. The only names going on the authorized list are the 9 I am about to text you." He said, "I can do that right now." I texted him 9 names. 4 parents had already confirmed they were in the parking lot. When I had seen Felicia's Instagram story at 10 that morning, Ethan's big day with a champagne emoji, and Jump Zone Indy tagged as the location. I had called 4 of Caleb's classmate parents before I left the house. It had taken 11 minutes and 4 calls. I had not told Caleb. I had told him we were going to his party and that I had a good feeling about today. He had said okay in the voice that means he does not believe me, but is willing to let it play out. The sign changed at 2:15. Happy 9th Caleb in the same green and orange letters, 12 feet tall, blinking above the check-in counter. My father was on his phone when it changed. He looked up. He read the sign. He looked at me standing at the front desk with Owen. His jaw moved once, with no words coming out. He put his phone in his pocket and walked toward me, with a different kind of walk this time. Not the managing walk he had used at the entrance, but something harder. He said, "What did you do?" I said, "I changed one name." "Mine," he said. "You cannot do this. This is Ethan's party. His guests are already here." I said, "Ethan's guests are welcome to stay. The list has been rebuilt. If their names are on it, they can come in." He turned to Owen. He put both hands flat on the front desk counter and leaned forward and said, This man is removing his own family from a children's birthday party. That is harassment. I want to speak to your regional manager right now. Owen did not lean back. He said, Mr. Webb, the reservation holder is Donovan Webb. The account is Alderman Event Group. The deposit was paid by Donovan Webb on October 15th. Any changes to this event are at his sole discretion under our vendor account policy. If you have further concerns, I can provide you with our corporate contact information. Dwight straightened up. He looked at the counter for a moment. Then he stepped close to me, close enough that I could see the vein running along his temple that appears when he is about to say something he has been storing up, and he dropped his voice so that Owen would not hear it, but I would. He said, "You are going to sit in that apartment of yours and realize what you threw away today. When your kid grows up embarrassed by what you are, and he will, you are going to call me, and I am going to let it ring." I said, "Owen, are we good on the guest list?" Owen said, "All set." I said, "Thank you." I looked at Dwight. "Excuse me." I stepped around him. Two of the classmate parents had just walked in with their kids. One of them, a woman named Adrienne, whose daughter Priscilla had been in Caleb's class since second grade, had heard the last part of what Dwight said. She looked at him. Then she looked at Caleb, who was still on my hip and had heard it too. She walked over and she put her hand on Caleb's shoulder, and she said in a voice that was steady and warm and very deliberate, "Hey, birthday boy, I heard there are dodgeball trampolines in the back. You want to show us where they are?" Caleb looked at her. He looked at the sign with his name on it. He looked at the kids coming in behind her. His face did something it had not done in a very long time. He let go of my hand, and he got down, and he went inside with her kids. Dwight walked back to where Trey and Felicia and Gina were clustered near the party table. I watched him talk. I watched Felicia's face change as he spoke, going from the particular smugness she had been wearing since I walked in to something more careful. I watched Trey look at the sign, and then at his own hands. Gina still had not looked at me once. She was folding the Ethan banner down the middle, pressing the crease flat with her palm, slowly and with great care, like a person doing something precise and unimportant to avoid doing something harder. Then I went inside to my son's birthday party. If you have made it this far, stay. Family Secret Tales is where the receipts arrive after the sign changes. Subscribe before you miss Sunday. Let me tell you about October of 2021, because without it, the second half of this does not make sense. My father came to me that fall and asked to use my Alderman vendor login to browse venue pricing for a family reunion. Not to book anything, just to look at the rates. He said he was trying to get a sense of what kind of budget they would need. I said yes. I gave him the credentials. I watched him write them on a sticky note at my kitchen table with a blue pen. I thought nothing of it. I had given my login to 2 colleagues that same month for project sharing purposes. My father was family. I still believed at that point in my life that family operated in good faith when money was involved. I was wrong about that. 5 years later, I was sitting at my kitchen table at 8 in the evening while Caleb slept down the hall with birthday cake on his face and trampoline exhaustion in his arms, and I opened the Alderman vendor portal to pull the booking confirmation for today's party. I wanted to document the deposit and have everything in order before I called Lydia on Monday. What I expected to find was one charge. October 15th, $4,200. Caleb Webb 9th birthday at Jump Zone Indy. Clean and straightforward. I found 11 charges I had not made. The first was December 2022. Ethan's 6th birthday. Jump Zone, the same park, $214 in add-on charges billed to my account, on top of a deposit I had not recognized in my monthly statement and had written off as a corporate event I had forgotten to log. I had spent 40 minutes on the phone with Alderman's billing department in January 2023 trying to locate the client file for that charge. The billing department had not found it. I had written off the amount as a data entry error and moved on. It was not a data entry error. It was my nephew's 6th birthday party. Then December 2023. Ethan's 7th birthday. Then December 2024. Ethan's 8th birthday. A hotel ballroom in June 2023, which I later learned was Trey and Felicia's 5th wedding anniversary dinner. $1,800. A graduation party in May 2024. 2 private restaurant dining rooms I had no memory of booking. A boat charter in August 2025 that I had spent 40 minutes looking for the client file on before deciding I had misfiled it. 11 bookings. 3 years, $14,800. My father had written the login on a sticky note in October 2021 and had used it every time the family wanted to celebrate something that was not my son. Every birthday Trey's kid had. Every milestone the family chose to mark. All of it billed to Donovan Webb at Alderman Event Group. None of it disclosed to Donovan Webb. And none of it questioned by anyone in the family, because the bills were not going to them. The bills were going to me, folded into a vendor account I managed alongside 40 other client bookings per quarter, invisible in the noise. I sat with the number for a while. $14,800. Then I thought about the last 3 years. The times I had told Caleb we could not do the bigger venue this year. The times I had looked at my year-end statements and wondered why my accounts were running short when the workload had been strong. The Friday night shift I had picked up at a client event I did not need to take, because my personal accounts looked thinner than they should have, and I assumed I had been careless somewhere. I had blamed my own accounting 3 separate times. I had assumed I was losing track of my own money. I had talked to a financial advisor in the spring of 2025 about whether I was spending beyond my income. I was not spending beyond my income. My father had a sticky note with my password on it, and he had been spending it for me, every time the family wanted to celebrate something that was not my son's birthday. At 8:12, I sent a formal unauthorized access report to Alderman's vendor compliance desk. I attached the billing history. I attached screenshots of every booking I had not made. I noted the dates, the amounts, and the login credentials used. I noted that I had provided those credentials once, in October 2021, for a single pricing inquiry and had not authorized any subsequent use. At 8:19, Priya Mehta called. Priya is my colleague at Alderman. She had been at the office finishing a client proposal when the compliance flag from my report came through the internal system. She had pulled the billing history herself before she called. She does not wait to be told to act on something she can already see. She said, "Donovan, there is a charge from March that is not on your report." I said, "March of this year." She said, "March of this year." $412. A private dining room downtown. I looked at the event name. She paused. She said, "It says retirement dinner for Dwight Webb." I said nothing for a moment. She said, "You did not know about it." I said, "No." She said, "Your father threw himself a retirement dinner on your account and did not invite you to it." I said, "Yes." She said, "I am adding it to the report." I said, "Add it." She said, "Donovan." I said, "Yeah." She said, "Caleb, okay." I said, "He fell asleep with cake on his face." She said, "Good." She hung up. I sat at the table. I thought about March. My father had retired from the parts warehouse. I had sent him a card because nobody had told me about any dinner. He had called me 2 days after March 15th to say he was officially retired. I had said congratulations. He had said thank you. He had been at his own retirement dinner 2 days before that call, charged to my account, surrounded by family members I was presumably invited to be, and when he called, he had said nothing about it. I had sent the man a card. He had deposited the sentiment, charged the dinner to my professional account, and called the next week to say thanks for the congratulations, as if that was the whole picture of what March had contained. I sat there for a few more minutes. Then I called Lydia Grant. She handled Alderman's contract disputes, and I had used her once before for a vendor payment dispute that had gone sideways. I left a voicemail with the full summary. $14,800 in unauthorized charges, plus the retirement dinner. Total $15,212. Demand letter to Dwight Webb, certified mail and email, Monday morning. I also sent Lydia the screenshot of Felicia's 10 a.m. Instagram post before I went to bed. The timestamp post showing the family at Jump Zone, Ethan in his birthday shirt, the Ethan sign visible in the background, posted 4 hours before I arrived, proving the family had known about the booking and coordinated around it. Lydia called it a gift when she saw it Tuesday. She said it meant the family had not stumbled into my reservation by accident. It meant they had planned it, known it was my account, and showed up anyway. Then Felicia had posted the evidence to her public page before noon. At 9:12 my father called. I answered on the second ring. I wanted him to know I was not avoiding it. He said, "You embarrassed this family today in front of strangers. You ruined your nephew's birthday. You are going to hear about this for the rest of your life." I said, "Dad." He said, "Don't dad me. You changed a sign like a petty child because you could not handle that Ethan's party was the one that mattered. Trey has been in this family his whole life. His son matters to people. That is not your fault, but it is not something you get to punish us for." I said, "Pull up your credit card. The one ending in 4419. The one you have been using for family events." He stopped. He said, "I do not know what you are talking about." I said, "Your card expired, Dad. You have been on mine for 3 years. Pull it up." 4 seconds of silence. Not confusion. The silence of a man who has just understood that something he believed was invisible has been seen, and is now calculating how much time he has before the next thing happens. He said that account, there was a misunderstanding about the login. I thought there was an arrangement. I said 11 bookings, $14,800, plus a retirement dinner in March that you did not invite me to. He said, "Donovan, this is not what it looks like. You are blowing this out of proportion. Family share resources." I did not think it through. I said 11. He said, "What?" I said 11 times. Not once. 11, Ethan's 6th birthday. Ethan's 7th. Ethan's 8th. Trey's anniversary. A graduation party. 2 restaurant private rooms. A boat charter. I spent 40 minutes looking for the client file on because I thought I had lost my own paperwork. 11 times over 3 years you used my login and my card and said nothing to me. While I was telling Caleb we could not afford the bigger venue. A longer silence. I heard him breathe. When he spoke again, his voice had shifted into something lower and more controlled, the voice he uses when he is switching strategies. He said, "You cannot file a fraud claim against your own father. That is not what that process is for. You know that. You work with these people. Call this off and we talk about it like family." I said, "My attorney sends the demand letter Monday. Alderman Compliance opened the audit tonight. The chargeback goes to the card issuer Monday morning." He said, "Donovan, he let my name sit there, the way he does when he wants it to carry weight. You do this and you lose this family. You understand that? You lose Trey. You lose your mother. You lose Christmas. Is that what Caleb needs? His father burning everything down because of a sign?" I said, "You billed Ethan's last 3 birthdays to my account while Caleb made his own birthday card the night before his party because he had learned not to wait for anyone to make one for him. He is 9 years old. He already knows nobody is coming. That is what you built. Good night." He said, "Donovan." He stopped. I hung up. At 9:18 Trey called. I did not answer. At 9:44 Felicia texted, "You are absolutely unhinged." I screenshotted it and sent it to Lydia. At 10:50 my mother sent a voice note to the family group chat. It was 4 minutes long and covered why Donovan had always been ungrateful, why Caleb's birthday was never as important because Trey had more people around him, why using the vendor account was not technically wrong because families share resources, and why tonight had proven what she had always privately known about Donovan, which was that he was not a team player in this family. At 11:37, my father replied to the group chat. His message said, "Everyone calm down. He would handle Donovan." My mother replied, "How?" "He has a lawyer." That was when the chat exploded. 47 messages between 11:37 and 1 in the morning. I know the count because my cousin Damon, who had not been at the party and had no idea any of this had happened, sent me a screenshot at 1:15 with one message, "Bro, what did you do?" The financial layer moved Monday morning. Lydia's demand letter went to my father's home address by certified mail and by email. $15,212, payable within 30 days. Monday afternoon, the chargeback request went to the card issuer. Unauthorized third-party use. 11 transactions. Documentation included the alderman billing history, the login access record showing a single authorized session in October 2021, followed by 10 unauthorized sessions over 37 months, and Felicia's time-stamped Instagram post at 10 a.m. On December 6th, Ethan's big day with Jump Zone Indy tagged. That proved the family had coordinated the event and known about it hours before I arrived. Lydia called the Instagram post a gift. The family had documented their own participation before I walked in the door. Lydia had one more note on Monday morning. She said the 11 charges, taken together, were not a gray area. They were not a family misunderstanding that had gotten out of hand. They were unauthorized use of a vendor account and corporate credit card over 37 months, documented by login records and billing confirmations. She said in a civil claim, the standard is preponderance of evidence, not proof beyond doubt. She said the records made a preponderance. The alderman vendor audit ran Tuesday through Thursday. Friday morning, the compliance director sent me a memo confirming that my account had been accessed without authorization on 10 occasions after October 2021. Because I had reported the breach promptly and had not personally authorized the personal bookings, my account standing was clean. My license was intact. My record at the firm was unchanged. I almost called my father when I got that memo. Not to tell him he was cleared, to tell him how close it had been. He had used my professional account for 3 years, and if the audit had found it through a routine internal review instead of through me, my license could have been the thing that paid for Ethan's birthdays. I almost called him to say that. I did not. I folded the memo, filed it under the letter W, and went to pick up Caleb from school. The social layer happened the following Sunday at Trey's house. I know this because Trey's father-in-law, Bernard, called me on Wednesday. He said he had been at the Sunday lunch when Dwight was going through the story of what had happened at Jump Zone. The sign, the guest list, the front desk, the lawyer letter. Dwight had been talking for about 10 minutes when Bernard noticed the table had stopped responding. Not arguing. Not defending. Just not responding. Bernard said he had gotten up to refill his own coffee in the middle of Dwight's explanation and had not asked if Dwight wanted any. 2 cousins were on their phones. Trey's mother-in-law had started a separate conversation with Felicia about something unrelated. Dwight kept talking. The table had already moved on before he finished the story. Bernard said he did not know what to make of it, but thought I should know. I thanked him. That was the whole conversation. The emotional layer is my brother. Trey called me on a Tuesday, 10 days after the party. He had not been in the group chat after the first night. When he called, I let it ring twice before I answered, because I wanted to know what version of events he was going to offer, and I needed a moment to decide whether I was going to let it land or not. He said, "I did not know about the account, Donovan." I said, "Okay." He said, "I mean it. Dad told me he had a vendor contact through someone at his old job who gave discounted rates on event venues. I never asked who it was. I just thought Dad had a connection." I said, "He did have a connection. It was me." Long pause. He said, "I did not know it was you." I said, "Trey." "Ethan has had 3 birthdays at Jump Zone." He said, "Yeah." I said, "You went to all 3. He said, "Yeah." I said, "You never asked whose vendor account was paying for it." He said, "No." I said, "Nothing." He said, "I should have asked." I said, "You should have asked." He said, "Donovan, I am sorry. I truly am." There was a pause, not the kind where someone is looking for the right words. The kind where someone has found the right words and is trying to figure out if they are enough. I said, Trey. Caleb made his own birthday card the night before the party. Blue marker on orange paper, slightly crooked letters. He made it himself because he had learned not to wait for anyone else to make one. He wrote 2 sentences inside. He wrote them the night before, when he did not know yet whether anyone would show up. He wrote them anyway because he is 9 years old and he has already figured out how to manage his own hope in small amounts so that none of it gets wasted. Trey did not say anything for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was different. He said, I did not know that. I said, I know you did not. He said he was sorry again, and I heard that he meant it. He has called twice since then. I have answered both times. I do not know yet what that means for the longer run. I know that he went to 3 of his son's birthdays on my account and did not ask. I know that he did not know it was me. I do not know where those 2 things leave us. I am still figuring it out. What I do know is that Gina, my mother, has not called once. She has sent 2 texts. The first said, I hope you are proud of yourself. The second, 4 days after that, said Caleb can still come to Christmas. I have not replied to either. I have not decided about Christmas. What I keep thinking about is the napkins. The way she kept folding them at the party table while my father said what he said in the lobby. Her hands moving in tight, careful creases, choosing precision over presence. She had been at the party table for at least an hour before I arrived. She had seen the sign. She had helped put up the balloons. She had known my son's name was not going to be on anything in that room. And she had folded napkins. That is what I keep coming back to. Not the sign. Not my father's voice. The napkins. I almost called my father the week the demand letter was delivered. His attorney had responded asking for a 30-day extension. I had his number on the screen and a clear idea of what I wanted to say. Then I thought about the lobby and the specific way he had said it, 9 years. Like the number itself was the accusation, like Caleb's whole life was evidence of something wrong with me. He had not said it in the heat of the moment. He had chosen that number because he had been counting. He had been keeping a running total of my failure as a father. And he had waited for the right room to say it out loud. I put the phone down, and I did not pick it up again for that purpose. What I did instead was go to Caleb's room and stand in the doorway for a minute and listen to him breathe, and then I went back to the kitchen, and I did not call anyone. I almost replied to my mother's voice note in the group chat. I typed 3 sentences. They were true, and they were firm, and they would have changed nothing because she would have taken them and read them to Dwight and built a different story with them. I deleted all 3. I left the chat instead. I almost asked Felicia to take down the Instagram post. Then I remembered Lydia had called it a gift, and I left it up. That is where the story sits now. My father's attorney and Lydia are in correspondence. The chargeback is processing with the card issuer. The audit closed clean, and my license is intact. My father has not called since the night of December 6th. My mother has sent 2 texts in 3 weeks. The first said, I hope you are proud of yourself. The second, 4 days after that, said Caleb can still come to Christmas. I have not responded to either. I have not decided about Christmas. What I keep thinking about is not the sign or the dinner or the 11 charges or the phone call or even my father's voice in that lobby. What I keep coming back to is the napkins. My mother had been at that party table for at least an hour before I arrived. She had seen the sign. She had helped hang the balloons. She had known that Caleb's name was not going to be on anything in that room, and she had folded napkins and made sure the creases were straight the whole time my father was talking. On Sunday morning, the morning after the party, I was at the kitchen table with my laptop open and my coffee going cold. The chargeback confirmation had come in at 6 a.m. I had been up since 5:30, which is what happens when something you set in motion finally starts moving and you cannot quite sleep through the sound of it. I was reading the confirmation when Caleb came out of his room in his socks and his birthday shirt from the day before. The one I had ordered online in late October with the number 9 on the sleeve. He had slept in it. He sat down across from me. He poured himself cereal. He looked at the laptop screen. He said, "Is that from the party thing?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Did it work?" I said, "It worked." He nodded. He ate his cereal for a minute. Then he reached into the pocket of his hoodie and pulled out a folded piece of construction paper and put it on the table between us. It was his birthday card, the one he had made himself the night before the party. I had not known about it until that moment. He had just carried it with him. I opened it. There were 2 sentences inside. The first said, "Dad, thanks for trying." The second said, "This year I think it might work." He had written those sentences the night before the party, when he did not know yet whether it would work. He had written them anyway, because he was 9 years old, and he had already learned to hold his hope in small, careful portions, so that none of it got wasted. He was 9 years old, and he had made himself a birthday card and carried it in his hoodie pocket through the whole day, and had not shown it to me until the morning after, because he had not known, the night before, whether there would be anything worth showing it to. I folded the card closed. I did not put it away. I left it on the table between us where we could both see it. We ate breakfast. He told me about the dodgeball trampoline and the foam pit and a kid named Darius from his class who had done a backflip off the edge and almost landed wrong. He ate 2 bowls of cereal. He asked if we could go back to Jump Zone sometime. I said yes. He asked if it would be under our name next time. I said it would always be under our name from now on. He thought about that. He nodded like it made sense. He poured himself more cereal and went back to telling me about Darius and the backflip and whether the foam pit was deeper on the left side or the right side, and I sat across from him and drank my coffee and listened. At that same Sunday morning hour, my father's kitchen had his phone face down on the counter next to the certified mail envelope from Lydia's office. Return address Grant Legal LLC. He had placed the envelope face down on Saturday morning when it arrived and had not touched it since. The family group chat had gone quiet sometime after 1 in the morning. His last message, the one that said he would handle Donovan, sat at the bottom of the thread with no replies below it. The message directly before his was Trey telling my mother to stop asking Dwight what to say next. Nobody had answered that one either. The envelope sat where he had placed it. The phone sat next to it face down on the counter. Neither of them was going anywhere. Family Secret Tales is where the ones who kept trying finally get their name on the sign. If this one found you on a hard day, please subscribe. There is another one coming Sunday, and it is waiting for you.